Okay, then I know that we're going to have a few more students kind of joining us over the next few minutes. So as we just hit 6 p.m. though, I did promise that we would start at 6 p.m. So here we are. And I just wanted to firstly start this evening before kind of handing over to the experts, as I know you're all here to hear from UBS rather than me specifically. But really what I wanted to start off the session by saying is well done so much for joining us. The fact that you're here at 6 p.m. on a Monday evening when it's particularly challenging time, isn't it? And it's really great that you're using this as kind of an opportunity to find out a little bit more about the opportunities that are out there. I'm Ellie and I'm from Pathway CTM. So really we're here to kind of help support you through this time, through events such as this, which are going on today. But I'd really recommend, take note of all the things that you hear tonight. You've got some amazing panelists that I've spoken to today already kind of raring to tell you a bit about their experiences. The way that you can do that is via the chat box. So really, I want to see the first student to write in the chat box. We will always remember your name. It's so impressive being that first person who writes in the chat box. So the first person who puts kind of good evening or hi, Matthew, well done. I'll remember your name now throughout the rest of the session. So that's so good to see. Do kind of interact in that chat box. And, if you have any comments, that's great, Caleb, that you've been on some of our other sessions. Like, it's really good to see those kind of names pop up and you really getting involved. Make the most out of today because it's a perfect opportunity to kind of ask questions and really get involved. So you can write in the chat box as Kieran has just then, but you can also write in the Q&A box, which I can see someone has already found because it's just popped up and notified me. So if you have any kind of direct questions this evening you want answered, then pop them in the Q&A box and we'll make sure that we do get to them in the second half of the session. So really those are the two ways you can communicate with us. I can see one of you have actually already raised your hand, and that's really good to see. If you have any kind of technical issues, anything at all like that, then we will kind of if you raise your hand, we'll definitely be able to get back to you in the chat box. So I'm here for you throughout the whole session to really kind of help support in that way. But to be honest, I'm going to hand over to the experts in terms of giving you an overview of what today is going to consist of. And, really over to you in terms of the rest of today. But any questions at all, then do just let me know. And I'm here on hand if you need anything at all.
Thanks, Ellie. Hi, everyone. My name is Sabrina. Firstly, I want to apologise. My camera seems to have gone very dark, but I'm sitting in a very light and bright room, so I apologise for that. But welcome. Thank you so much for joining today. It's really great to see so many of you have joined us, and I hope you enjoy the session and find it informative and get to really understand sort of UBS, what we do, and get some great takeaways from it. So I just wanted to quickly run through the agenda for today. We only have an hour, but hopefully, you'll learn a lot and hopefully enjoy it as well. So as Ellie mentioned, if you have any questions, just make sure to type them in the Q&A box. It's a really good opportunity if you get to ask your questions to members of the business, and also we have some current apprentices joining us later on as well. So any questions you have, please feel free. There's no silly questions. It's a really good opportunity for you to get to ask them. So first I'm going to hand over to Faraz, and he's going to give you an overview of UBS, what we do, our different business areas, and I think also have some time for questions in that session. And then we're going to do a sort of question and answer panel. We have Marzana, who is one of our junior talent recruiters. So any sort of questions you have around application process, how to improve, I don't know, your CV or interview tips and things like that, feel free to ask her. And we also have Mitchell and Molly, who are two current apprentices. So you'll be able to ask them any questions you have around, why did they decide to do an apprenticeship? How are they finding their program, and so on. So yes, as I say, do feel free to keep asking questions. And I will hand over to our first section. So Faraz, I will hand over to you.
Thank you, Sabrina. At the start, I must warn that I actually have two kids who are running and jumping upstairs. So if you actually feel some of that noise, do excuse that. It might not be your headphones. It would be them jumping. And I think, apologies, it seems I have not finished my DIY work over the weekend. Okay, so hi, I'm Faraz Shan Mohammed. I work as a director in global markets, very particularly in EMEA equity derivatives, and to be more specific, in structured equity solutions group. Our desk provides leverage and risk management solutions to clients on their strategic equity portfolio, which means it's a concentrated portfolio. And our typical clients are ultra high net worth individuals that we get through our wealth management franchise, private equity businesses, or sovereign wealth funds. Uh, I have been part of this desk for about a little bit less than 2 years, but I've been with UBS since 2011. And before joining IB or equities front office, I've worked in finance and operations across different areas. Before joining UBS, I was working in Big Four in audit and accounting advisory, mainly concentrated on financial services. By qualification, I'm a chartered accountant, and that accounting stream or accounting strength has been with me throughout different parts of my career, even now when I'm in structuring area. Uh, Serena, if we go to the next slide. So let's talk about our credentials, and this is mainly focused on asset management. And just before coming on the call, I was looking into our credentials, and I was like blown away. Though, like being in UBS, sometimes didn't realize. But here you see our asset management credentials that we are the largest mutual fund manager in Switzerland, number one foreign manager in China, and it's very important because Chinese markets have very recently opened up. We are among the top 10 real estate managers. We are the second largest like fund of hedge fund managers, but that's because our fund management business is concentrated towards institutional clients. We are a leader in impact investment, and those sustainable finance, ESG, etc., are buzzwords that have sprung up very recently in the main domain. But we have been in the impact investment world for quite some time, best part of a decade, as far as I know. I've seen different initiatives that we have been working on inside the firm, and also not only from client perspective, but also from UBS in society, partnering with Optimus Foundation for education of children and girls in India, to various different initiatives here in London with Bridge Academy and others, which I'll come to explain. Our invested assets, which is one of the measures that we use for asset management industry, you can see has a portfolio, have a geographical diversity. So it's not only Switzerland. Yes, we are largest in Switzerland, but you can see we are a considerable force to reckon in EMEA, in America, and APAC as well. If you talk about wealth management businesses or or investment bank as well, where I belong to, we have a number of awards there. We have been rated in 2020 as the best private bank, and not only in 2020, that has a few successions, not only in the world but also in Asia and EMEA region. We have also been voted as like best research house for 3 years in a row, number one in research. We have also have got like best equity cash business, etc. as well. If we move to the next slide, this is where what we actually do. So we are like world's, as I said, we are world's leading wealth manager. And this is our main business or main focus area. This is where UBS is well recognized with, and we are a premier universal bank in Switzerland. I think I saw somewhere around the internal like post that we are probably have the largest market share in Switzerland. When I say universal bank, it means that we offer all spectrum of banking services from wealth management, asset management, IB, and retail banking in Switzerland. Outside of Switzerland, we do not offer any retail banking, but we have a very strong wealth management franchise, strong equity franchise within investment bank, and strong investment bank, but very strong equity and FX franchise within that, and asset management franchise for institutional investors. So as the name suggests, the wealth management is where we provide financial services to wealthy customers, from ultra high net worth individuals to global family offices to very wealthy and affluent individuals as well. And the financial services we offer them is full spectrum, from like your bank accounts, loans, mortgages, to management of their portfolio, like management of their portfolio, management of their investments, financial succession planning, etc., for their families, business, probate, etc. asset management, we are more on the institutional side and provide a lot more institutional asset management services. We are client-centric investment banks. We, a number of years ago, decided that we will focus on investment banking where we are strongest, and our equities and FX franchise often wins a number of awards. Retail corporate bank is our banking business, like what we call personal and corporate banking, which, as I just discussed, is in Switzerland, where we offer full spectrum of banking, like you might have seen other high street banks here in UK. We have a very large group function, and if you look at from the pie chart, you'll see that our largest concentration of employees is in group function, and they are people from our operations, our IT colleagues, legal, finance, HR, communication, branding, risk, etc. As I just told, I was part of risk and finance and operations uh, in the bank, and I've moved into different roles. So one of the things, one of the key selling points of UBS, which I've heard from other people joining the bank, because I haven't had experience with the banks, is that we are very good in mobility. I have worked in different parts of the bank, and so I know a number of colleagues who have worked not only in different parts or different divisions of the bank, but also across different geographies. People in my team has moved to Hong Kong, Singapore, New York, India, etc. as well. So that's a big selling point. We have presence in 50 countries with about 69,000 employees that include contractors as well, and about 150 languages that we speak. uh, Next slide. So we're talking about, like, similarly 50 countries. We have, as you can see, the split here. It's you'll see that there's a huge concentration in Switzerland in terms of our employee base. That's our home, that's our hub. But we have a strong presence in America. We have a strong presence in EMEA, and also in APAC. We are, as you've seen, that we have the best awards for foreign bank in or foreign asset manager in China. When China opened up for foreign banking, we were one of the first ones to be there, and it's one of our strong markets. And we have a huge, like, not only presence there, huge emphasis, huge amount of interest there, and we have a number of awards in APAC in the complete region. In 2018, I believe these numbers are 2018, we had 268 apprentices hired. We had 467 graduates hired into our different talent programs. Our split is 60-40, effectively men, women, across our board. Next. So it's not only what we do, behaviors are very important for us. So when this is a time when everyone is evaluated for their year-end reviews or performance evaluations, I can tell you that how we are evaluated, it's not only the objectives that we have achieved, i.e. in terms of work, that client focus, financials, risk management, the tasks that we have delivered, but also we are measured on our behaviors. And these are our key pillars or principles of behaviors: integrity, collaboration, and challenge. And we have to demonstrate that we have lived up to UBS behaviors. So when we mean about integrity, we take accountability and responsibility of what we do, and we hold ourselves responsible for UBS reputation. We care about our clients, we care about our colleagues, and we want to treat ourselves as role models, both for clients but for colleagues as well. Integrity is a very key element because it's what banks reputation is based on. We we are encouraged, and we encourage everyone across the organization to work collaboratively across the firm, because we have more power when we bring the entire UBS franchise together to the client. So as a large organization with approximately 69,000 employees, you would imagine that there are different silos with one and different people dealing in different areas, from geographical to like divisional or functional boundaries as well. But the breadth of experience that we have across 69,000 employees is amazing. People are expert in different areas, and what we can do, and we have won a number of businesses from from our peers, from a competition, by showing a complete breadth of experience across UBS franchise, from people experience on raising money in bond markets, equity markets, to wealth management, portfolio planning, etc. It's not only bringing different experiences and collaborating to win clients, but also recognizing the diversity, the cognitive diversity, the diversity in perspective that our employees offer, and those diverse perspective are what makes us a winning team at UBS. We also, one of our key principles of behavior is also challenge, to challenge ourselves to do better, but also to constructively challenge and speak up if we see anything is wrong. And this is highly encouraged in UBS. If you go to the next slide. So this is something that I'm really passionate about. What when others when I've seen people, like, I'm an experienced hire, but I've seen people joining UBS, they say a lot about people culture here, and it's a very, very strong people culture. When I joined UBS, I know about 2011, I heard this concept of lifer, that people are here for 20 years, 30 years, 25 years, and I used to be amazed, even about 5 and 6 years, but now I'm almost completing my 10th year here. There are amazing networks here, which are run by employees. So these are employee-run networks where the steering committee and chairs are employees. They are supported by senior sponsor. UBS provides budgets to these employee networks in order to run different strands. I am a member of Mosaic. I'll talk about that in the last, but for example, some of the networks that we have, all bar none, focuses on gender diversity and women empowerment. Family Matters focuses on, as the name suggests, effectively on the family related issues and how do you actually make work-life balance. Pride is our LGBTQ network. Ability awareness makes sure that we are prepared, an organization provides equal opportunities to people of different abilities from mental and physical perspective. CAN is one of my favorite networks. I just got an email on about Hanukkah, but what basically it does, it actually provides and highlights different cultures that we have in the organization. We get emails and newsletters, and if we were in office, there would have been food related events for different, like celebration of different events, from Diwali, Eid to Chinese New Year, etc. So we want to make people aware about different cultures that we have brought together in this, like, cultural melting pot that we have in UBS, which resembles very much in terms of London. We have an excellent community affairs network, which has been recognized externally a number of times. We work with Bridge Academy, a school, in a number of instances, from providing reading club supports to providing, like, sports inspired days and various different mentoring opportunities to students, not only from Bridge but other communities as well. But we work a number of things with Bridge. Mosaic is our youngest network, and I'm very proud to say, because I'm a sitting member of this member, is basically the fastest growing network that UBS had. And we have about 1,700 members, and this network promotes ethnic diversity and equal opportunities across different ethnicities for basically the bank, which normally, like in the high street, we or in different streets or different areas, we call BAME network. But we have worked. I'm a steering committee member for recruitment and mentoring. And as a part of that, we have launched a talent development program or coaching development program as part of mentoring to our employees, Mosaic members. We have forged over 100 mentoring networks where we're connecting senior members to junior members so they can share their career guidance and insights with them. As part of recruitment, we have participated or carried out various, like, Heritage Insight Days, hosted various events, worked with campus marketing in expanding the universities that we go to, working on development of unconscious bias training, to various different initiatives like Race for Work Charter that UBS signed 2 years ago, and trying to make sure that we complied and get data associated with that. I think that's about it from my side. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
That's great, Faraz. Thank you so much. I've relocated due to Wi-Fi issues, but I know that we have Catherine as well on our side in terms of kicking off that Q&A, if that's a good time for that. So I don't know if right now is the right time to kind of introduce the rest of the people on the session, if that's okay. So Mazana, Mitchell, Molly, if you're able to kind of turn your cameras on and give us a little bit of an introduction. I think I might start off with Mazana, if that's all right.
Yep, that's fine. Hi, sorry, my camera is being a bit weird, so I won't be able to toggle that and put it on, but just to introduce myself, I'm part of the junior talent team here at UBS, and the kind of things that I do is I sort of look after your application. So when you apply for a position with us, I'll sort of take you through the process from start to finish, from screening your application, sort of being your point of contact with the recruiter as well, from when you apply, answering any queries you have along the way, screening your application, reviewing your video interview, right through to taking you through to the final stage, which is the final interview. And again, just obviously being there for you throughout the process. Yeah, just sort of hopefully taking you through right through to the final offer stage.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And I'm sure we have lots of questions for you, and I'm sure the students have lots of questions for you too, being on the other side of that kind of table then. Mitchell, yeah. you're next in my view. Can you give us a bit of an intro to who you are?
Yes, so I am a global wealth management apprentice. I joined in September of this year, so I've just done over 3 months. A bit weird this year, it's all from home, but I'm enjoying it. It's good fun, and I was in your position a year or two ago, depending what year you guys are in. So happy to answer any questions you have about the apprenticeship program.
Perfect. And Molly, jump in if you're there, but I think we're just we'll kick off with both of you two. So Marzana, in terms of that process, and I'm sure we've got lots of questions kind of coming in from the students, but to kind of kick off with some from me initially, if you could give 17, 18-year-olds on the line today any word of advice from the fact that you are kind of going through that process with the students and you're sitting on the other side of the kind of application process, what would your kind of top tips be from that perspective if you had to give kind of 1 or 2 main things?
Yep. So I would say, first of all, when you're actually submitting your application form, try and include as much detail as you can. I know some people probably think that it's not even looked at by anyone, or it's probably just a computer doing it, but I can assure you it's not. So I would definitely recommend making sure you put a good level of detail in there and really just sort of show off your achievements. I know probably at your age you probably haven't had a lot of experience, and that's absolutely fine, but whatever experience you have had, even if it's anything voluntary, please do include it, because we love to see what you've sort of been up to, the kind of things you've been involved in, whether it's a job, whether it's voluntary, whether it was something a short summer role. Definitely put it in, because that's where we sort of get to see your transferable skills, and the kind of things you like to do. We sort of build what kind of candidate you are. So definitely include a good amount of detail in your application form. And also when you do go on to complete your video interview, again, make sure you are doing your research on UBS, because we really want to see a passion for UBS as a business, as opposed to other companies, and then the business area as well, why you've chosen that particular business area and why it really appeals to you. So I think coming prepared to all stages of the process and doing your research is really important, as much as showing your enthusiasm for the role that you've chosen at UBS.
Absolutely, they're great top tips, and I hope that everyone kind of on the line is jotting them down, because they're really good things to bear in mind. In terms of just quickly on that kind of point you just made around the different kind of business units and things like that, with, I know, the roles that are kind of imminently going live, do you mind talking us through a little bit about what those options are for kind of the school leavers at the moment? Just thinking about that, what, you know, giving us a bit of an overview from that side, just quickly before I kind of go into Mitchell and what the experience has actually been like.
Yeah, absolutely sure. So, as Faraz mentioned earlier, he mentioned group functions. So I cover roles within group functions, and that includes roles in finance, technology, sort of the support roles, operations, that sort of thing. But we also have roles within our global wealth management area, global markets, and global banking. And these might not make a lot of sense to you now, but I would definitely recommend reading up on these on our website as well to kind of see what area of the business that this falls within. So yeah, we offer roles within all our functions, asset management as well. So, you know, when it does come to apply for roles in January, I would definitely recommend reading up about the area of business that you think suits you most or would obviously appeal to you.
That's brilliant. Yeah, no, thank you. And also that's a good idea in terms of just bearing in mind those timings. So students on the line, we've got January roles imminently open, and definitely, as Marzana says, like, do your research and we can definitely help you with that. But then I guess a question back to you, Mitchell, in terms of, so you've been through the process yourself, and obviously, you know, Marzana gave us some tips from a recruitment perspective, but since you are definitely a case study of it going well, what would your recommendation be then from a success story?
I would just say stick at it, keep going, because I applied for several apprenticeships, and I'm happy I ended up with this one. But it can get quite frustrating sometimes, but definitely stick at it. Back to what Marzana said about putting as much info in, every detail, it really does help. And it also helps when you write down all the detail. If you're lucky enough to come to an interview stage, it's good to talk about all the little things you've done, because every little helps in a way. The apprenticeship application for UBS was quite, it's quite different to university. I know some of you will be applying for that. You start off with your initial application, just a few small details, and if you're approved, then you move on to your online test, and then I think you do 1 or 2 online tests. I'm not 100% sure, I can't quite remember, it was quite a while ago now. And then you do a video interview, and then you will get contacted if you pass that, and you'll go on from there. Usually you do one or 2 more interviews, and then if you're lucky enough, you get offered the job. It is quite a long process, longer than university, I would say. And of course, with uni, it's one application, where as this, for each apprenticeship, you have to submit a separate application. So it is very different, but stick at it is my best advice.
Yeah, no, some great advice in there, and it's also a good advice in the first sense around, you know, applying to lots of different roles and keeping your options open. I think that's also just like a good piece of advice to kind of take with you. And so you've got through the process, you've been successful, and in terms of your tips then to get you there. But what does a day in your kind of life as an apprentice now look like? Could you talk us through it a bit?
Absolutely. So I was the first month, you're sort of settling in, you're doing a bit of training, you have lots of calls with people all across the business, and I would definitely use this time as best you can to take note of who people are, what they do, just to try and get a deeper understanding of UBS, what it stands for. We touched on the networks earlier. Get involved in them, they're really good, but you'll have an introduction to them. And after your sort of first month, probation period almost sort of thing, you'll start to do day-to-day roles. So in wealth management, it varies across the different areas, of course, but I can only speak from a wealth management point of view. And I do a lot of admin work. So you do like address updates for clients, you do email updates, you start at that position, you do security checks on clients, on potential clients, things like that. You start to do annual reviews for clients. So each client every year will be sent out the annual review pack, which includes a summary of all their investments, with UBS, things like that. So it's quite varied. Obviously, I've only been here for just over 3 months, so I don't fully know what the job entails quite yet, but so far so good.
No, what a good summary as well. I think it really kind of brings it to life as well, because lots of the students on the line, for example, will be experiencing a kind of virtual experience as a whole. So it's really interesting to hear about how your kind of experience of that has been so far. So that's great. And Molly, I think I've seen you do you mind giving us a bit of an intro to kind of who you are and what you do at UBS?
Hi, sorry, tech issues, which I bet is the absolute bane of everyone's life. Everyone's experiencing it right now. So basically I'm in global markets, and I work in the capital consulting team, which is within prime brokerage. So what we do is we work with hedge funds to connect them with investors, and also we have a business consulting side, which is very varied. I get to see a lot of client interaction, which is really exciting. And I come from a place where I did A levels in maths, chemistry and English. I can't believe I almost forgot that already. And that, so I didn't think I'd go down the apprenticeship path, but here I am now, and I honestly don't regret anything. It probably is the best decision I have made.
That's really interesting to hear, and all sounds so positive. But I'm really interested for some of the students on the line who might be thinking about those two options at the moment. What was your decision maker in terms of university or apprenticeship, and how did you kind of make that decision, I guess?
Yeah, so my decision was mainly based on the competitiveness, I guess. When I started the process, I realized how competitive and advantageous it was for my career to actually be doing 4 years of work experience and come out with a degree and a CFA, and at the end being almost, well, a further place than a normal graduate would in some ways. I'm not putting it down. I mean, I know so many people will do degrees and go into a similar field, and if that's what you want to do, you really have to do what you're passionate for. The degree I was passionate about, but the work I did through work experience, I was really passionate about and wanted to get involved straight away. And I think it's, if you want to get involved straight away, it's just probably the best route for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of, I mean, in both examples there, we've heard about the competitiveness of the process. And Marzana, I guess, off the back of that, you must see kind of a lot of candidates come through the process each year and things like that. What makes someone stand out then? I know I've asked before kind of like top tips, but you must see a lot of good quality people, and how can our students kind of have a head start and have a think about that, how to stand out?
Yeah, so I would say someone that stands out to me, so as I said earlier, obviously someone who does complete the application form correctly and, you know, puts in all the detail, just because it just shows me that, you know, they're really putting that effort in and they really do want their application to be considered. So, I mean, you probably think, you know, well, why is she saying that? You know, you need to fill in the application form properly, but you'd be surprised. There are people who you know, who don't fill it in as well as they should, and then, you know, that obviously means that that's just a wasted position. So I would definitely say make sure you go through all the stages of the process and really put your all in. So, you know, filling in your application form, all the details, when we have the video interviews, doing your research on UBS, doing your research on the role, and answering the questions to the full amount that you're given. So when you do a video interview with us, you have 1 minute to think of an answer, and then 2 minutes to actually answer each question. And there are about 7 to 8 questions. So I would say use the time here to make sure that you are really answering the question well. So that's why I always say be prepared, do your research on UBS and the business, your chosen business area. And then finally, when you come to interview again, you know, we set up briefing calls to help you in your interview and give you tips and tricks ahead of that. So just, you know, being proactive, joining those calls, asking questions, making sure that you are fully prepared, so that when you do go in for your interview, you've utilized all the help that we've given you, and that when you do go in for your final interview, you're fully prepared. So yeah, that's what I would say, just sort of, utilizing the help that's given to you, being proactive and doing your research, and just asking questions as well at interview. That's really important as well. So just being very well prepared.
Yeah, no, definitely, and that's a good point to make around the kind of having your questions prepared, and as well as doing your research, just making sure that you have those backups. Despite all preparation, I guess sometimes nerves is something to bear in mind, throughout that process. I wonder, Molly, how did you kind of deal with that throughout the process? Did you have any coping mechanisms, or was it just how did that go for you?
For me, I'd say it was the preparation made me feel comfortable, and I guess also it's something I really wanted, and the whole process itself was so good anyway. As a graduate, I'd have to go through such a similar process. I took every stage as, right, this is an amazing learning opportunity. I got to meet some amazing people in my interviews, in every way, and I had some good conversations which put me at ease. And obviously the video interview, you don't have conversations, but it was something I felt passionate about. And I guess I did get very nervous, but it's that thing of, this is what I want. So I put it kind of the one side, made sure I was as prepped as I could be without trying to overthink it, because it is really you, I guess, you need to come across as. And I think from my feedback from people who've interviewed me, they were like, yes, be yourself, because that's who we want to see and that's who you can sell.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, obviously that mechanism definitely worked for you, hence the reason you're kind of sitting here and talking about your experience. So that's all really positive to hear. And before I get carried away and ask all the questions that I have to ask everyone on the panel, I want to make sure that I do cover the questions that the students have kind of come in with today. So kicking off with a question that's come in from Lawrence. Are there any degree apprenticeships for student leavers? Marzana, what does that look like? So degree apprenticeships.
Yep. So without all of our apprenticeships, they are for school leavers, and with all of them, you will have the opportunity to not only work and have that experience, but you'll also have the opportunity to gain a qualification. And we do our apprenticeships alongside the University of Exeter. So yes, you'll definitely have the chance to gain a qualification whilst working as well. So you do get the best of both worlds. You get that exposure, you get that first-hand experience that people your age wouldn't usually get. They sort of will probably go into the working world after university. So it is a really positive thing to be able to get those two things two for the price of one, really. So I think it's a really good opportunity. But yeah, you will have the chance to gain a qualification whilst you're learning. We have a team within Junior Talent that will help you. You'll receive sort of classroom-based training, depending obviously on the role that you've chosen, and it will cover a variety of technical and behavioural topics, so that we can set you up to to be a success in what you do and at UBS.
And thank you so much, Marzana, and brilliant question, Lawrence. And also kind of ties into a question which is often asked after that, which is, what's that like in terms of splitting working and learning, studying at the same time, Mitchell? Like, how have you found doing both?
It's been okay, actually. I mean, we've submitted our final assessment piece for the past 3 months, so module 1 the other week, which was quite nice. Quite nice to get that over and done with. But basically how it works is you have 4 days at work and then 1 day a week to study. So for us, it's Wednesdays, and everything's online. I don't know if it'll be the same for your year. I'm assuming it'll be something similar. But we're with the Uni of Exeter, and we do 1 day a week studying. Everything's online. You have 1 or 2 webinars, so just hour-long videos, and then every so often you'll have a masterclass as well, which is pretty much all day on Zoom or something like that. I don't know how that would work usually. I think it might be some classroom-based learning, but obviously because of COVID, everything is online. I think certainly I found it a manageable split between studying and working. It's quite good that you have the dedicated day, and I would definitely use it. Of course, wake up an hour later, you know, do your thing, but just use that day to get the work done, because further down the line, you'll realize that they are so valuable. Of course, there might be times when you need to do a bit of work in the evening. I certainly found that in the week running up to my when my assessment was due, but that's not an issue. Usually, everything can be done within the Wednesday, or for what it is for us, it is a Wednesday. Everything can be done in your study day, but it is a manageable split, definitely.
That's really good to know, and it's just something to bear in mind for students, you know, who are thinking about the transition into kind of work life and what that would look like with studying as well. So we've got another question in from Victor. So thanks, Victor. Clearly knowing a variety of languages would be a good thing. Is it needed, for example, to have a GCSE A level or other certificate of the extra language a candidate can speak? So I think Fazana, is that something in Mazana, in terms of qualifications?
Yeah, so we definitely don't require it as a minimum requirement or something that's mandatory. It is obviously a plus to have someone who can speak a language, you know, that is a nice plus, but it's definitely not mandatory. You don't need like an A level in it. You don't need an A level in French, for example, to be able to do an apprenticeship with us at all. It's an added bonus, it's an added plus, but no, you won't need an A level, a specific language A level.
That's great to know, and it ties in really, really nicely to the next question, which is coming in from an anonymous attendee around what qualifications you do need. So what do we have to bear in mind if you're thinking about applying in Jan?
Yeah, so, excuse me. So our minimum requirements are, for most of our roles, are a CBB at A level or the equivalent to that, and a B or level 5 or 6 in maths and English at GCSE. So those are sort of the minimum requirements that you need in order to even be considered for a role, and then we obviously take into consideration anything else that you might have.
Perfect, and we can share them with everyone kind of from today who's been on the session. We can share those requirements, because I know that's really important to bear in mind for the applications in January, so we can do that. Thank you. So another question coming from Anish. How many job roles can I apply for at the same time, so logistically?
Yeah, so we do have a rule that you can only apply for one role with us per intake year. So if you've applied for a role in global banking, for example, you then won't be able to apply for a role within group functions. It is just the one application per intake year.
Great. So for if any reason, you know, you're not successful and things like that, then you can go ahead and apply the next year. So that's something to bear in mind as well.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, sorry, if, say, for example, you've submitted an application with us and you realise that, okay, this is not the one I'm suitable for, then we can sort of withdraw you and you can apply to something else. You will obviously have to do the testing and everything again, but if you do sort of change your mind, then we do allow you the option to sort of switch your application.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, definitely something to bear in mind, students, because I know we've been asked that before, actually. Great, and then moving on to kind of another question from Lauren. So one directed to you, Mitchell. Can you ask how many apprentices are studying kind of with you at the moment?
So there's quite a large intake, I think. There's 42, I think there might be 40, I think it's 42, it's around that number, 42 apprentices across the whole bank. There's 12 within wealth management of my area, and then it's further split down. So within my segment, within wealth management, there's 3 of us, but there's 42 apprentices overall. And the Exeter learning is sort of split into 2. So you have a webinar with 20 people, or 21 people, and then another webinar in the afternoon with the other 21 people. So that is how many are learning. It's just UBS students on the Exeter course. So it's in your class, essentially, it's all UBS students, apprentices, sorry.
No, that's great. Thank you so much. And good to know that off the cuff in terms of numbers of how many people you're with. So Raj says, hi, are you offering work experience, virtual or otherwise, in the summer? Mazana, I don't think that's something you know, or Sabrina, and don't worry if not.
Yeah, so I'm happy to answer that one. So when you say work experience, we obviously are discussing our apprenticeship program here, but we do obviously run our summer internships as well, and our grad schemes, but obviously those are for candidates who are currently studying in their university courses, so those are sort of for people doing degrees. But yeah, we do offer roles that do take place in sort of the summertime. Yeah.
Great. So if you kind of keep an eye on the website, I would suggest to that student, then you can keep an eye, and obviously through Pathway CTM we'll let you know as well if anything kind of crops up. A good question around the work experience. So in terms of other questions that have come in, so great, thanks students, it's so great to see so many questions coming in. But another one from Joe. So I think this is a really important and good question, so well done. But when I'm 21, what's my expected career trajectory in comparison to graduates? And I think that's a really good kind of question to bring up today in terms of how much experience you get through being an apprentice. But Mazana, I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you that one again in terms of what you look at and how that goes.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, great question, Joe. So obviously when you are 21, we definitely do not expect you to have, a ton of experience on your CV. And, when you submit an application with us, I know I've said include your the detail and everything, but we don't expect you to have years and years of banking experience. We look for people who are motivated, even if you had a job at Costa for most of your student life. We look for enthusiasm, we look for transferable skills, we look for a willingness to learn, we look for a real genuine interest in the role that you've applied to. So we don't expect you to have a ton of experience, but if you do have experience that's relevant, then definitely include it. But we also look at your transferable skills as well, and we understand that given your age, you wouldn't have as much experience as someone who, sorry, for example, a graduate who is to apply with us. So we definitely do take that into consideration. But the main thing that will shine out to us is what you put in your application form, and how you sort of tailor that to the role that you're interested in, and how you're able to sort of draw on your transferable skills. I hope that I've answered that question well enough for you.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it gives a really good idea in terms of, because it was a point that kind of Molly made earlier as well, which was at the same time as getting your degree, you're also getting so much work experience by being an apprentice. So I think it really does set you aside from, being a graduate as well, because obviously it's brilliant that experience you get at university, but if you can do both and leave after that time with the kind of work experience as well as the degree to prove it, I think it's always like very impressive. And it kind of ties into a question that Daniel's just asked. So Molly, I might ask this one to you. In terms of it being with quite a lot of workload and things going on, how do you kind of entertain yourself in such a busy working life and keep on top of things?
For me, I can't speak for every apprentice because we all have such different roles, and I think that's a really important aspect of the apprenticeship. We're put in roles that are so different. When I even talk to global market apprentices, which is only 4 of us this year, we do such different things. We're in such different teams. So the team I'm in, I get a lot of exposure to clients and different workloads. And I think if you did get the apprenticeship, your team will make it as varied as they can for you. And yeah, sometimes the workload, like obviously you can take on as much as you want as well. And I think that's very key to the apprenticeship, is you can make it exactly how you want to do it. And your team's always aware that you've got uni work to do. They always give you all the time you need. But at the same time, if you want to go along and maybe sit in and make notes for a client meeting, or if you're client facing, or if you want to do internal meetings and take some notes for that, most of the time they will let you and they'd love you to do that. So I think keeping it entertaining is, if you're passionate about what you do, then it is really exciting. But if you're not, I definitely would say speak up in whatever position you're in, whether you're at UBS or anywhere else, because I mean, if you don't enjoy it, you won't find it exciting, basically.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And even kind of coming along and doing things like this in terms of talking about your experiences gives a bit of variety in terms of what you're doing and talking about those things. But yeah, no, that's good to hear about how you can get involved and get exposure to different things. So I am conscious of time, but I'm going to get through another couple of questions that are coming from the students. So Fernando's asked, what would you say separates an apprenticeship with UBS with, say, another investment banking firm? So quite a tricky question and a good one, though. So I think I'm going to ask Mitchell that, because you must have had that thought process.
So was the question just what separates UBS from the rest?
Yeah.
I would say we briefly touched on it at the start. The network program is amazing. The inclusivity of the firm is also amazing. I mean, they host for all different types of people, and they're very supportive. I mean, I have monthly calls with one mentor who helps me with my workload. I have another mentor who helps me with sort of my mental well-being. And I have another mentor that helps me with networking side of things. So you are very, very supported in a role at UBS. And I think, you know, we've already said we're the biggest and best wealth manager in the world, things like that. They do make a big difference. But I think the strength of UBS is how inclusive and how catering they are, and also the flexibility. If you, like Molly touched on, if you want to go far, you can. If you want to take on more work, you most definitely can. You can talk to anyone in the firm. You just drop them a Skype message, and you're talking to them straight away. We've organised Skype calls with desk heads and client advisors and things like that. So I think the inclusivity and the flexibility of the apprenticeship scheme are the two biggest things that pulled me to UBS over other banks.
What a good answer. And not to challenge you, Molly, but I think it's such a good question. I want to kind of just extend that to you. What do you think in terms of if people are thinking about which bank in the sector to kind of apply for? What would you say?
Well, I did apply to other banks, and I'm sure a lot of other apprentices did. For me, UBS offered such a tailored position to what I wanted. I got to craft it from my application. Not many apprenticeships allow you to choose what department you want to go into to begin with. So it allowed me to tailor it from there. To be honest, I loved my interviews as well. I had such a great time where I ended up actually talking to my line manager, and I ended up now sitting with him on his desk, which is amazing because we had such a nice conversation about what was in the news at the time. So I think, again, I must say what Mitchell said. For me, it's the flexibility to shape my career how I want to shape it. You are so respected as an apprentice. You are not treated any differently to how a graduate might be treated. You're not given just the boring jobs. It really differentiates how they treat you. And yeah, it's so inclusive, so much support. Again, the amount of conversations I've had with people, networking opportunities. I can only reiterate what Mitchell said because it's perfect what he said, to be honest, but that's my little take to add.
No, definitely, and really good value add.
I'll just quickly add as well, sorry to cut you off.
No.
I'll just quickly add, I'd say the people make UBS as well. Everyone is so lovely, and everyone, if I'm unsure of an issue, I don't feel scared to ask. And if I don't know about something, I know several different people, as I've already mentioned. I've got 3 or 4 mentors that I feel I can easily reach out to. So the people are definitely, along with the other things I said, definitely make UBS one of the best.
Definitely, and the fact that you kind of feel like that after through doing things virtually, I think is really impressive, because I think that at the moment students on the line might be thinking, you know, it's a difficult world to go into virtually, but the fact that you can speak so positively and how you feel so supported, despite the fact that it's been a strange year in that sense, I think is really, really positive. And based on those 2 answers, I think that we definitely need to answer, Mazana, around when do the applications open in January, because I'm sure we'll have some keen applicants. So do you have any kind of confirmation on that, or if not, we can share
so it will be, I don't have an exact date just yet, but it will be towards the end of January. So definitely do keep an eye out on our careers page on UBS towards the end of January, and yeah, keep your eyes peeled for the roles that you'll be interested in, so you can hit that, you know, start application button as soon as they go live.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And don't worry, everyone who's kind of joined today's session will be notified when those roles go live, and we'll let you know. So that's, yeah, no problem at all. We'll make sure to do that. We have got quite a few questions still in the kind of Q&A box, so I just want to cover off a couple of them just around quickly before I do the kind of final wrap up. And a few of them are about kind of what do you actually study at university? When doing the apprenticeship, what subject do you study at university? In terms of that practicality, what is it actually that you're studying in terms of your degree, Mitchell, for example?
Okay, so you're studying, all your studies go towards gaining a applied finance degree. I'm assuming that would stay the same next year. That's the majority of us apprentices. I think there's 3 other apprentices who are doing a slightly different scheme in sort of accounting side of things, but 42 of us, I think it was, we're doing the applied finance scheme. So I've only done 1 module, so I'm almost as in the dark as to all you are about what the actual degree contains itself. But so far we've done, we've learned things like bonds, shares, different types of banks. We've learned about compliance, not the most exciting, but you have to do it. And one thing I would say about the degree is it's very tailored to UBS. Half of my essay that I submitted at the end was all about UBS. So they are very good with that. They do tailor it to your job. It's very relevant as well. Some of the things that you hear in my sessions on Wednesdays with Exeter, you hear around or being talked about in your other days at work. And I think UBS and Exeter work quite well together. There's a lot of feedback opportunities, which means that it's very tailored to our job. But I would say it's very relevant, which is a good thing. But in terms of the actual content, as I say, I'm not 100% sure because I've only done 1 module. Our first module was called Financial Assets, and can't remember the other bit, but something along those lines. If you want to have a look, I'm sure you can. They probably have something on their website. Yeah,
no, definitely. And that's good advice. And you managed to answer actually 4 questions that had come into the Q&A box throughout around the experience. So well done. That was a very kind of efficient answer there. I am kind of conscious of time. And I know that Sabrina, might want to kind of finish and just say thank you from a UBS perspective. I want to personally say, thank you for joining the panel. That it's so good to hear the genuine experiences and recommendations from kind of a recruitment and apprentice perspective. So thank you so much. In terms of supportive environment, I actually also have Catherine from our side who is going to be sharing a link in the chat box now, which will I just ask students who are on the line, thank you so much for joining. I will hand back over to Sabrina, but if you do get a chance, we're just going to pop a little form in the chat box now, and if it will honestly take you less than 2 minutes, I've done it myself, I promise, just to give us a little bit of feedback on today. So do kind of take the chance to do that, and then it will give us enough information to kind of let you know about all of these amazing opportunities that are coming up with UBS. So do just quickly fill that out for us, and we'll be really grateful. But thank you so much to the panel. Yeah, and just a final close, I guess, and thanks from Sabrina.
Thanks, Ellie. Again, sorry for my camera has gone completely black, so I'm just not even going to bother turning it on. Apologies for that. But thank you so much for everyone for attending. I hope you found it helpful. It was really good to see so many questions coming in and, so much engagement. So thank you. And as Ellie mentioned, the fact that you're here today and wanting to learn and, ask your questions is a really good sign already. So well done to everyone for joining. I've just got on the screen as well some of our social media channels, which I always recommend that people follow. We often post about things, we sometimes do recruiter hints and tips. We post about other events that are going on, sometimes profiles of different people within the bank and things like that. So, and as has sort of been mentioned a lot today, doing research and knowing about UBS is always really helpful. So I would definitely recommend following some of our social media channels. And also there's one more point I just wanted to mention is that we do hire on a rolling basis basis. So when roles do go live, which I believe is sort of mid to end of January, just remember that sort of it is it's on a rolling basis, so don't leave it to the last minute. Always encourage everyone to apply as soon as you can, and you know, you've got time to prepare, so definitely use this time. But yes, I just want to say thank you to Ellie for hosting. Thank you to our apprentices. Thank you, Marzana. Thank you, Faraz, so much. It's really helpful for the students to hear from you, and thank you to all the students for all your questions, and thank you for joining. So I hope you all have a lovely evening. And
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Thank
thanks,
you.
Sabrina. Thank you.